Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 10th December 2016. After Modi has become the Prime Minister, there were two narratives about him. The first is he is just continuing the old policies, and the second is there is a surprise, a drastic change in his foreign policy. And this is often described as Modi Doctrine. Now, Congress says that Modi Doctrine is nothing but a continuation of the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's doctrine. But however, if we see, there is definitely a change. That change is the surprise element or unpredictability in the Modi's foreign policy. Now, India has moved from non-alignment to a partnership with the United States of America, and the defense partnership is also increasing. It is seen as a continuation of what initiated by the Vajpayee era. And added to that, India is entering into maritime partnership with United States, Singapore, Japan, Australia. And this also initiated during the Vajpayee era. And India First policy. This is started during the Manmohan Singh era. The SARC minus Pakistan, this has initiated during the Gujral era. What the Prime Minister Gujral said is, with other countries other than Pakistan, India do not expect the reciprocity, and India has that magnanimity in providing the benefits to them. But with Pakistan taking our history into consideration, we cannot give the same benefits to the Pakistan. From that perspective, he said, the SARC minus Pakistan shall be strived for in the regional alignments. And then Pravasi Bharatiya Divas and all these signify reaching out to expat community of India in other countries. But what is the surprise element? What is this doctrine of unpredictability? Now there is a famous madman theory that has come up during Nixon's era in the United States, where Mr. Nixon has conveyed it to the Russia and communist bloc that he can take an irrational decision if necessary, that like using the nuclear weapons, etc. So, it means if you are being stamped as a madman, unpredictable, then it itself acts as a deterrence. That is what is the thought about it. Especially in India-Pakistan relations, an element of unpredictability was really high. Now, there are a sequential happenings in India-Pakistan relations. The first, calling all the neighborhood prime ministers, heads of the government, to the swearing in ceremony of prime minister and council of ministers. The second is Modi's surprise visit to Lahore. And on the other side, Balochistan issue has come up. Human rights violation in Balochistan was racked up by the prime minister. And second, we boycotted the SARC summit, and Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Bhutan also did the same. And the third thing is, today we are talking about surgical strikes. We initiated the surgical strikes and made it open to the people. Previously they were done covertly. Now we started doing overtly. And we are also talking about renegotiating the Indus Water Treaty and using it to the fullest extent. So this all shows that there is an ante-up against the Pakistan. There is an unpredictability element and rapid policy shift in India-Pakistan relations. So, what are the challenges of this doctrine of unpredictability? There is a theory of diminishing returns. As unpredictability increases, then the opponents will start understanding or predicting the unpredictable. And second, unpredictability also do not have or also can endanger the economic and other prospects of the country. Now, if you see, the tensions are bound to rise across our frontiers. As the tensions rise, our expenditure shifts towards the defense rather than for our economic prosperity and developmental aspects. Third, by isolating the Pakistan, we are pushing it towards the other side of the world. So, Pakistan, as like never before, is allowing for other countries like Iran, China, Russia to use its ports. And if we further see this in a world which is filled with fluidity now, more and more unpredictability on part of India, it leads to a kind of situation where we may lose more rather than we gain more. So that's why we say the unpredictability has its limitations and it works against the deterrence theory. Because as unpredictability exists, then automatically the other side also keeps its weapons ready. And every party likes to go for a preemptive strike to have a strategic advantage. So, under these circumstances, India will be a disadvantageous position as a developing country. And the cash need not be the king. So, in this case, India is trying to transfer itself into a digital economy. What are the limitations and advantages? The first major limitation is India do not have the digital infrastructure, e-infrastructure. You know that the digital divide, rural-urban differences, gender differences in access to the digital networks is the major challenge. And the second is the security challenges. The third one is the legal infrastructure supporting this is also absent. But however, if India makes it to the digital economy, then the advantages are many. The first is the tax returns to the government is bound to increase. The tax evasion is going to go down. And as every transaction is being reported, the consumer rights in the country gets strengthened. And the third thing is the country will have huge savings as the digital transactions are much cheaper compared to the cash transactions. These are the advantages. So in this context, already Kisan credit cards were in operation in India. The RuPay cards are in operation. And once this purse, Andhra Pradesh purse, Telangana purse, and all this comes up, the digital economy is expected to take a boost. South Korea at crossroads. The South Korean President Park Geun-hye, she has lost the power because of the impeachment initiated there. What is the reason? That is corruption. So because of this impeachment, there is a political instability. On the economic front, the South Korea is facing an economic downturn and the growth rate is decreasing. Strategically, the America today has deployed the third missiles in South Korea against the dangers from North Korea. And China is not welcoming this. And China accuses the South Korea of bringing instability into Korean Peninsula. And the trade with China is also decreasing. And the relations with China are not moving in the right direction. That is the reason why it has been said that the South Korea is at the crossroads. Now, common service centers or customer service centers. These are the different names used for the CSCs. As per the National E-Government Plan, initiated during the UPA government, for every village the CSC has to be established. All the digital transactions for the villagers, the CSC will be the interface. So it will be initiated in public-private partnership, and it will help in the farmers and other people in the village to register for Aadhaar, to do bank transactions, and to provide for one single point interface for every transaction they want to do with the digital world. So, as there are certain challenges and certain positive externalities to this. One thing is, the CSCs are very much involved with the digital education of the people. And next, the women are also entering into this movement. SHGs themselves are becoming the village level entrepreneurs. But on the other side, in government, there is no end-to-end digitalization yet. It means a transaction is done with the government. A certificate need to be issued. So it is not done with the digital signatures end-to-end. The forms have to be submitted physically to them. It means an offline element is existing even today in transactions with the governments. It is increasing the costs of common service centers and also making their work process very difficult. And the second, there is no proper legal framework to handle the e-governance initiatives in India. Third, as most of the services of the government are yet to become digitalized, the financial viability for as of now is under question. And then, to provide for the network or digital connectivity, the CSC network, Common Service Center network, is being initiated, but it was not moving forward at a faster pace. These are the challenges which the common service centers are facing. Now, if common service centers are initiated, as per the plan by 2017, 3 lakh common service centers are expected. Though if they become vitalized and our dream of digital economy is going to come true. And then industrial output is shrinking. What are the reasons for shrink in industrial output? You know that the investments did not get a boost, and private sector investment still suffering. And second is high base effect. It means in the last year at the same month, the growth is very high. So as we are comparing it on a high base, the production appeared low this particular month. And third thing is the future is going to be good. Already industry is talking about shrink in demand by 30% after demonetization. It means industrial output is expected to come down further. Now, coming to the Indian Express, this is the beautiful article today. Now, the spectra in Europe, everyone is talking about growing xenophobia, the rightist movements in Europe. But what is the major reason? The rightist parties, far right parties, what they talk about is immigration is threatening the jobs and also safety, and the outsourcing of the work is making them jobless. These are the things which are being exposed. But the central to this is the movement of the capital across the borders. After globalization started in 1980s and 90s, the amount of the capital flows were many times higher. Now if you see, in the globalization more and more talked about outsourcing of production. Then if you see the goods and service transactions and the financial transactions, these are 28 is to 1. Goods and services transactions are 1 and financial transactions are 28. And then goods and service transactions, they just constitute 3%. The growth of the digital connectivity also has facilitated financial transactions. Now the financial transactions are not happening in cash, but they are happening in digital numbers. So, because of this movement of the capital, the governments, the native governments have little control on the movement of global capital. Even if you see the far rightists, they are not questioning the movement of the global capital, but they are just questioning the outcomes of the movement of this global capital. So that's a very narrow way of understanding or looking at the movement of our globalization. The next is going digital. Already we have discussed this article. Incentivization for digital payments is a positive step. But however, there is certain things which the government has to address. That is e-infrastructure bottlenecks and e-education. And the third thing is legal support or legal framework and creation of proper regulatory framework. These are necessary for bringing in the digital economy in India. Now, let's see the notes. The Hindu editorial, a doctrine of unpredictability. Now, though it has been criticized that the Modi's doctrine is a continuation of the past, there is an element of unpredictability, but it also has its negative effects. The first major negative effect is it leads to aggressiveness in the other countries and increases the tensions, deviating our developmental agenda. And Pakistan may get more engaged with Russia, China, Iran, etc. And it can give more access to the countries from the other regions, which can be a threat to the entire region, South Asian region. And the unpredictable world with unpredictable policy will ultimately make the risks much higher. As the Trump became the president in the United States, he is talking about withdrawal from Trans-Pacific Partnership. In such a circumstances, China is going to rise in the global stage, especially economic stage. It will have its impacts on India. And then let's talk about cash need not be the king. So the digital economy, yes, it has its own benefits with regard to the decrease in transactions, improvement in consumer rights, and providing for the better safety nets to the people as the revenues of the government are bound to increase. And then a leap into the digital world. The common service centers, which are initiated in 2006 as part of National E-Governance Plan, can revitalize the digital economy in the rural areas. And then the business industrial production has shrinked on IIP index of statistical organization. So the reason being high base effect and lack of flow of investments. Indian Express, the article says that the xenophobia concerns in Europe are based on narrow premises of immigration and job loss, But the major root cause of this is the capital flows across the world, which is on which the local political leadership has little control. The rightists are exploiting this situation but not explaining the underlying causes. These are the articles for today. Thank you very much. And today I made a small change again. I have given the questions before. First, watch this video. Second, read the handout which was given to you, or read the newspaper, either of them is okay. Then take this handout. A questions are being asked. Just try to think over these questions after reading the newspaper so that you get a perspective. You get a thinking on what is being happening around you. And because the questions of the UPSC are changing, today the questions are coming with a premise. Do you think? Or express your opinions. These are the standard terms which are being used. So it means you need to have your own thought and opinion or perspective on a particular issue. That's why I recommend you to go through those questions and think on. Thank you very much.